I love Dan very much. There are some days I want to light him on fire.
Finance books.
I have been tasked by Dan over the years to read a few books here and there, not a lot.
They're dense.
It's not very difficult to read,
They're long.
and it's not very long.
And they're boring?
Yes, I did enjoy reading this book.
Wait, what?
I would say this is definitely one that I enjoyed, and I think that I would recommend it to other people.
Okay, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Maybe your partner loves this book and has been nagging you to read it, but how excited are you to read this book?
Like 3?
And that's the problem. Here's a book that a lot of us love. The knowledge, the stories, the advice have opened our eyes to a better life. But now that it's over with, how happy are you that you read the book?
Like a 7.
Okay, maybe you won't find this book as life-changing as some of us, but the question still remains, should you read it? Will you find it valuable? I think so, and this video is my attempt to try to convince you. Here are the lessons that Allison, my wife, learned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which changed her views on money. The first lesson, the rich buy assets, the poor only have expenses, and the middle class buy liabilities, thinking that they are assets. Before Allison read the book, I asked her this question. What's the difference between an asset and a liability?
Assets would be considered your resources maybe that you have. I suppose in this sense we're going to be talking about financial liabilities, things that would cause a negative impact.
And after a few chapters, she asked this.
I'm at the part about 25% in, it's actually where he had mentioned your house is not an asset, and I was like, probably the majority of people would assume that the house that you own or have a mortgage on would be an asset, and he was explaining why it is not.
But now, check out Allison's answer after she read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
An asset is something that will bring you income, and a liability is something that will take away your income.
The author, Robert Kiyosaki, does a great job of explaining how a house is technically an asset, and so is a car. Do your feelings change about your car at all?
I still love my car 1000%, but I guess we could have put that money elsewhere.
But rich people, wealthy people, get way more excited about assets that produce an income rather than buying assets that are just a constant expense. Lesson 2, own businesses that don't require your constant presence or passive income. This is the most important lesson in this book, and I'm just gonna let Allison explain it.
I would say the most important lesson for me was try to find a way to have passive income, so then that way you could potentially focus your time on things that are really important to you.
So quickly, what is passive income? Well, think of active income as your job. You're on a salary or you punch a clock and you're trading time for money. Passive income is where you don't have to do that. I mean, it does take some work to start passive income, but you don't have to constantly trade your time for money. And that's where your bank account can grow while you sleep. And if you have your bank account growing while you sleep, then you can spend your days doing whatever you want. Lesson 3, you're paying your taxes wrong. Allison had some strong feelings about this chapter.
I would say that this is probably my least favorite chapter that I have read. It talks a lot about taxes and corporations, and I don't find that particularly interesting.
But
However, let's say, for example, that unfortunately Dan has an untimely death, and I am left on my lonesome for a little bit. So it would be really important for me to maybe have some of those skills to become a more financially literate person.
yes, this chapter of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is boring, but that knowledge that you're lacking in accounting and business and finance could be costing you thousands of dollars. This is how taxes work for most people. You get paid, you pay your taxes, and you spend what's left. For business owners, they get paid, they spend the money, and then they pay taxes. Let's say you're making $50,000 and you're in the 20% tax bracket. Well, 20% of $50,000 is $10,000. So you pay that and then you spend $40,000 on the rest of your life. But let's say you're a business owner and you bring in $50,000 and then you spend $40,000 on electricity and lights and food and people and all that other stuff. And then you've got $10,000 left. Then you pay 20% on the $10,000, which is only $2,000. And then you have still $8,000 left. Now, taxes and business deductions get way more complicated than that example, but that's the basic idea of why you would want to be a business owner rather than being an employee. Lesson 4, investing is the science of money making money. Allison and I don't quite see eye to eye on this one. Some people will say, oh, I made an investment in some new shoes. I don't consider that investing for various reasons, but has that definition for you changed at all since you've read the book?
No, because I think the way that like you described that you think about investments, I think sometimes I feel the opposite or the other way that you don't feel. He says, oh no, it's only an investment if I'm getting something back from it. And I said, well, I bought these new shoes, but I'm getting some confidence from that.
Okay, I can't win them all, but when wealthy people, when rich people think about investing, they're thinking, how can I get my money that I have to make me more money? And this goes back to our earlier conversation about how rich people and wealthy people get excited about buying assets that produce an income. But people in the middle class that stay in the middle class are just buying assets that are expensive things. They're buying toys, not income producing assets. Next lesson, getting excited about opportunity even though there's risk. The fear of the unknown is powerful, but the rich people, wealthy people find a way to get over that fear and grab opportunity. And if you're still scared to take opportunity, here's what Allison found out.
There's one paragraph I feel like it definitely described me as a person. But the truth is that you let life push you into submission. Deep down, you are terrified of taking risks. You really wanted to win, but the fear of losing was greater than the excitement of winning. I am someone who wants to maybe worry about things that haven't happened yet, especially, scenario A, what could happen here? Scenario B, what could happen there? If I choose scenario C, what's going to happen? So I feel like making decisions sometimes is more difficult for me than it might be for another person, and I will ruminate over things. And I feel like I read that and I was like, ooh, that really describes me to a T personality-wise, and so I just thought that was very interesting.
Okay. If you're not convinced by now to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, here is our best shot. If you had a friend, what would you say? Be like, here's why you definitely need to read this book.
I would say for a lot of people right now, they're just living paycheck to paycheck and scraping by. And I feel like for everybody, that's not the life that they want to live. They want to enjoy life and be more comfortable. And I think that this has a lot of good lessons that can kind of get you off that path and figure out how to not just scrape by, because that's not what anybody wants to do.
And before you go, I had one final question for Allison. So if there was a book that had like 30 ways to get passive income, is that something you would want to read?
Definitely.
Okay, so I have the perfect book for you, and it's called...
Another book.